We continue our design series looking at ways to use color in the landscape. Now, when we think of color in the landscape, we most typically think of flowers. But flowers blossom and fade, and their color is rather fleeting. So when we think of planning for color, we need to look beyond the blossom. And our greatest source of color in the landscape is foliage. Now, looking just at green foliage, we see a great variation. Here's more of a standard green, but you get deep colors like this magnolia leaf. You even find some sort of bluish hints. This is a giant coneflower. It has this bluish tinge to it. We get silvery greens like in this lamb's ear, and even more of the yellow green like this marguerite sweet potato vine. And we find this similar variation in color in just about any color of the rainbow. Take purple just for an example here. This heuchera has a nice deep purple color. And then the tradescantia, the purple heart, has more of a bright purple. And we can see this in reds and oranges, all colors throughout the landscape. As you can see, color is not just for flowers. When you're selecting plants for the garden, foliage color is going to become very important. These heuchera are a great example of that. We have several different cultivars in here with different colors, from the purples to a more caramel color and even a yellow-green foliage. And each of these is going to have its own character when it's placed in the landscape. Just like flower color, combinations of foliage can be used to add depth or excitement to a planting. A good example of this is this silver frost heuchera, and it's planted around plants with just green foliage, so it really stands out and provides some contrast. Variegation is another aspect of foliage color that we could use in design. Light colored variegation, like this variegated boxwood, can be used to brighten up a shady site. We also find a number of plants with very bold color combinations, like the gold dust plant, Acuba japonica, as well as many common plants like cannas and coleus that can be used to add a bit of color and excitement. When we plan for color, we also want to consider seasonal color. And perhaps the best example of that would be the brilliant fall foliage we find on many of our trees, like the Chinese pistache and the maples. But shrubs and even perennials like the Samsonia also have beautiful fall foliage. Another aspect of seasonal color are berries, from the purple winterberry to the yellow fruits on a crabapple. And this blue-gray fruits on the leatherleaf mahonia. These just add brilliant color and rather unexpected on this type of plant. We also can turn to bark for some seasonal color. Right now, this dogwood, the stems are all hidden by the leaves, but in the winter, when the leaves fall off, the stems will have a brilliant red color. And then there's the Japanese Kyria, which has very bright green stems, and they keep that color all winter long. Trees also provide interest with their bark, such as the river birch with this beautiful cinnamon orange peely bark that's just beautiful all year round. Flower color, of course, can also be very seasonal. With annuals, if they're cared for properly, they could bloom all season long from the time they're planted until the first killing frost. Perennials have a shorter period of bloom, from just a few weeks to maybe a few months. Planting annuals and perennials together can help ensure that something's blooming all season long. Also, you could select perennials that bloom in succession to ensure that there's something blooming. We tend to buy most of our annuals and perennials in the springtime, and so we don't get to see them all in bloom. It's a good idea to visit the garden center or maybe your favorite public garden periodically throughout the season and keep a record of your favorite bloomers. Then you can incorporate these into your garden and add color at different times of the year. This is perhaps something people don't always think of, but different flowers also bloom at different times of the day. Around our bridge, we planted flowers that'll bloom throughout the day. Starting in the east, we've planted morning glories. Then in the middle of the day, the 4 o'clocks will bloom. And then in the evening, we'll have some moonflower blooming. So far, we've looked at using color through plant material, but we can also add color with our hardscape materials. And this is a contemporary garden, and it's a great place to demonstrate that, because in this small space we have 4 different mulches, each with a very different color. We have the brown cocoa beans, the white and gray rocks, there's a black wood mulch, and then more of an orangey pecan hull. And so the mulch material that you select can add a little different color to your garden. Other hardscape elements can also do this. Wooden posts, fence, lattices, and even containers can be selected to add a little bit more color. As we plan for color in the landscape, there's many different things we can consider. Foliage color, seasonal interest, and also hardscape color.